All right, thanks for joining us. We start off with matters to do with the health sector. The Employment and Labour Relations Court has directed officials from the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union be arrested for failing to appear before the same court this morning for sentencing. Lady Justice Helen Wasilwa, who issued the orders, directed that the police frog march the officials to the court this Thursday following contempt of court charges leveled against the union officials. The officials responded by insisting that the arrest warrant was a ploy by the government to intimidate them from proceeding with a strike that is now in its 37th day. After the ruling, members from the union engaged in a march from the Milimani commercial courts to Afya House, where they chanted songs of solidarity, insisting that they would not end the month-long strike that has seen medical services disrupted in public health facilities in the country.
We cannot joke around. As a country, we cannot joke around with the 5,000 brightest minds. I think it's a shame for the country. It is a way of killing dreams for the young girls and boys who passed their KCPE and said we want to be doctors. And for all Kenyans, we are very proud to be doctors. No mistake. Any day I would still choose to be a doctor. But I want to be a doctor in a healthcare system that responds to my needs and responds to the needs of the patient. Okay? Hiyo njia ni asi.
All right, let's get more details now on this developing story from our reporter at the City Centre Studios, Timothy Otieno, who was actually in court a little earlier this morning covering this story. Timothy, good afternoon. So we're hearing quite a bit of reaction from the union officials. What exactly are they saying?
Well, Yvonne, basically the union officials remain unbowed despite the arrest warrants issued on their heads. Of course, all 7 of them, if I could quickly take you through them. Of course, Samuel Rocco is among those who is wanted, and of course by the police, according to the court directive. He is the chair of the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union. There is the Secretary General, Ouma Oluga, as well as other members, including Daisy Korir, who is the treasurer of that union, Evelyn Chege, Alan Ochanji, Mwachonda Chibanzi, who is the Deputy Secretary General of the union, as well as Titus Ondoro. Now, those 7 individuals, the court has directed they be arrested by the police for failing to appear before Lady Justice Helen Wasilwa this morning at the Employment and Labour Relations Court. They were supposed to be sentenced over a contempt of court case that they had, that had then been filed by the Council of Governors in December. Of course, they have snubbed the court twice. And of course, Lady Justice Helen Wasilwa insisting that issuing warrants of arrest for the 7 individuals, and they're of course expected to appear before her on Thursday this week once they have been brought to court by the police. But of course, as you have heard from that reaction, the union officials remain unbowed, and of course they are saying that the warrants of arrest will not deter them. The strike is still on, and nothing less than what was signed in 2013 during the collective bargaining agreement is what they expect if they are to go back to work. Now, of course, before the members appeared before that impromptu crisis meeting by the union officials, they were being addressed by members of the National Executive Council who said that in case their officials are arrested, then they'll take up the torch and continue with the fight to ensure that the doctors get what they believe is duly theirs. So despite the warrants of arrest issued on the heads of these 7 individuals, the doctors in unions and their members insist the strike is still on and they will not be cowed until they get that 300% pay increase that they demand, among other demands, Yvonne.
Yes, that's right. You're talking about, you know, the NEC saying they could possibly take over this should anything happen to the union officials after their arrest. What sort of sentence are they looking at when they go back to court on Thursday, should that happen?
Well, of course, the contempt of court charges are, of course, serious charges that could see them arrested. I cannot authoritatively say which kind of charge they may be facing on Thursday. That, of course, will have to depend on Lady Justice Helen Wasilwa, depending, of course, also on the gravity of the situation. Of course, these union officials have, first of all, defied several court orders. One of them was one that declared the strike illegal in mid-December last year. Despite that declaration by the courts, they proceeded with the strike. They were summoned by the same courts later on that month to appear before the courts to show cause why they were still continuing with the strike, despite the fact that the courts had declared the strike illegal. They did not appear, and today's lack of appearing before the courts, they snapped it yet again. But of course, they were represented there by their lawyers. But Lady Justice Helen Wasilwa insisted that this time round they cannot evade the law, and they will be arrested, issuing those warrants of arrest. Now, in terms of the nature and what faces them, we'll have to wait until Thursday to get the specific details, and in regards to perhaps which sentencing they may receive if there is to be, if they are to be released either on bond or bail. Thursday is the set date. Meanwhile, they say the strike is still on, and they will not go back to work until that CBA has been fulfilled by the government. The government on several occasions has denied that, of course, giving offer after offer, one coming even from the president himself. They rejected all the offers. So the impasse still stands, Yvonne.
All right, thank you very much, Timothy Otieno, on those details that are coming out of the courts this morning. We will wait to see what happens on Thursday. Timothy, we thank you. Now, the Amani National Congress has held its National Executive Council meeting early today and backed opposition's move to create what it called predictable electoral systems ahead of the August general election. Addressing the media just a short while ago, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi hit out at the Jubilee government for creating unpredictable systems for the poll. Mudavadi further said the ANC will attend tomorrow's meeting at Bomas to lay out strategies for a free and fair election. He spoke alongside former Cabinet Minister Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who has been chosen as the ANC Deputy Party Leader. Let's listen into what they had to say just a short while ago. Oh, we're actually live now. Let's go there.
Will you knock at his door?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Yes, I will.
We take two more questions, you and someone else. Go ahead.
I'm Shera from Citizen. Two questions. Number one, are we looking at a replica of 2002 whereby we had a strong opposition united under NAC to face the government? And then second question, CORD has been having its formula of nominating or coming up with a presidential candidate. Now, under the bigger flag of the opposition, are you having an idea of a formula of coming up with a sole presidential candidate for the opposition?
You know, one of the things that one would ask is that, do you know the formula that they have?
Yes, they have a committee.
Good. Now, the principle that we want to put across is that opposition must broaden. All right? And indeed, this has been spoken to by some of the opposition leaders within the CORD setup, that we need to broaden the opposition. Now, broadening the opposition is making sure that all those players who want to achieve the same objective can dialogue, team up, work together, and then have a united front. Now, that is where ANC comes in. That is why we have been propagating the need for a national super alliance. That is why we are also saying that when you look at NASA and you underline the word S, super, we want to go beyond the normal coalitions where it is just political parties rearranging themselves. We want to also reach out to sectoral areas of our economy, the trade union movement, We want to reach out to civil society. We want to reach out to religious groups or sections who also have a common concern. We want to reach out to the youth movement in this country. We want to reach out to the ladies of our nation and to be able to work together. Sections of the people who are in the disabled or physically challenged citizens of our country who have been seeing that no serious effort is being made to deal with their problems. This is why we are saying we must create a super alliance, something that brings all these people together. And once we are able to do that, we are also open-minded that the leadership, once united and we have a common leader, then it is good for all Kenyans. And that is where we want to go. We want to strengthen devolution in this country. So these are the platforms under which we want to negotiate the need for coming together. The idea of who is at the helm over a 5-year period is a short-term view. But what we want is a long-term view, consolidate the positive things that Kenyans require to deal with unemployment, to deal with poverty, to make sure that the young men of this country also walk with dignity because they can afford to feed their families. This is what we want to achieve. And I hope and I plead that you can work with us on this journey.
On the matter of the election laws, what likely step are you going to take as the opposition?
That is part of the issue we shall be discussing tomorrow. So I would not want to preempt the detail, but frankly, in our statement we said we are very disappointed that sections of the Senate and sections of the National Assembly completely disregarded public participation. They disregarded the religious leaders who cautioned against the process, the way they are taking it, the way they have reneged on what was the product of a joint negotiation. All these things are not auguring well for Kenya, and these are the issues we are going to discuss tomorrow, amongst others, and then we shall communicate.
Nina swali moja hapo. Langu naitwa Oyondi. IEBC wale commissioners ambao walikuwa wameteuliwa pamoja na the chairman wanaanza kufanywa vetting leo. Chebukati labda anaweza kapata ama asipate. Inaweza kuwa ni delaying tactic kwamba.
All right, that is a press briefing after the ANC meeting that has taken place earlier this morning. Duncan Hayemba is there. We will be seeking to speak to him later to get more details of that. And of course, its significance ahead of that meeting by the so-called NASA Alliance members tomorrow. We'll be discussing that with him in a short while in the course of this bulletin. But first, the vetting of candidates nominated for appointment to the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC, started this morning amid mixed reactions about their suitability. Wafula Chebukati, who is seeking to succeed Isaac Hassan as the chair, was the first to face the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, chaired by Samuel Chepkonga. The selection panel forwarded to President Uhuru Kenyatta 2 nominees for the position of chair and 9 for commissioners, and was expected to pick the chairperson and 6 commissioners within 7 days. Questions have been raised about Chebukati's appropriateness for the position following reports that other candidates performed better than he did in interviews conducted by the IEBC selection panel. We want to give you some update on what he had to say before the panel a little earlier this morning. Take a look.
I was captain and chairman of Mombasa Golf Club and Nyali Golf Club. At the moment, I'm a director of Royal Nairobi Golf Club. So issues of corporate governance, I'm very familiar with them, and managing boards. I know the IBC will have 6 commissioners who will be vetted before you. If we all approved, I should be in a position to manage the board, give a leadership role to the organization, be able to run the necessary board meetings and evaluations. So I have that experience in terms of leadership. As to what I'll do differently, that's the question, Chair, you have asked. I'm aware that IBCs are going concern. There are things happening. The Secretariat is there. It has been working very hard. And yes, when we go in there, if you approve us and my commissioners to go in, we shall pick it up from where it is. I know next week the voter registration exercise kicks off. That will be priority, number one. Go for it, get the voter register cleaned up, and because it's a sensitive issue, the voter register, we shall have it cleaned up, and then once it's cleaned up, it will, under my leadership, it will be hashed so that it's not tampered with. We're also looking at the area of what I'll do after the voter register is to look. We have the system of electronic system being purchased. I saw in the newspapers that the tender has been stopped, but at some stage it has to be purchased. Now this is a new system. Going by what we went through in 2013, we don't want a situation where this system fails in the middle of elections. So my take is that once it's purchased, it's commissioned, before elections, we should be able to do proper tests on the system. All penetration tests need to be done to make sure it is secure from hackers, because you'll appreciate here the people out there would want to hack in the system. So those tests need to be done to make sure it's not hacked. I would also go for the idea of checking the load, make sure it doesn't crash in the middle of elections. And load testing is very, very important. How is that done? That can be done by way of stimulation tests. You can, under my leadership, I would make sure we run 2-3 trial elections before then.
All right, so that is what was taking place at the County Hall a little earlier. Wafula Chebukati for the position of chair was first. We also had Constance Nkatha Minor, who was up next. But I want you to take a look at who's up before the panel right now. We'll be getting to more of that live. And the person on your screen now is Boya Molu, who's also up for Commissioner of the IEBC. He is the man in the hot seat right now before the Parliamentary Committee on this issue.
Were brought on board. They are already working for the institution. So I think that was one of the fairest recruitment one can find.
So basically you are saying,
yes,
even in Kiaru constituency, which is represented here,
yes,
by Honorable Kangate Rungu, you can mention names of persons employed there if you are given time.
Yes, definitely.
Of course, you didn't come with those names.
No, I didn't come with them.
But you are aware,
yes,
that people from Kiaru are employed at the judiciary.
Every constituency in this republic.
All the 290?
All the 290.
Okay, good enough.
Several MPs came asking for whether their constituency gets something. We gave them names. They went back and confirmed. Yeah. And they said,
so,
we are happy.
Kangata is the only one who has not come.
At least he has not come to my desk.
Okay, continue.
But he's free to come to and inquire anytime.
Okay.
So we want to revisit a story we had earlier for you, and that is regarding the National Executive Council meeting of the Amani National Congress that took place just a short while ago and has just concluded. Like we promised you, that conversation now with Duncan Hayemba, who covered that and will speak to us now about the significance of this. Duncan, good afternoon. We saw the return of some old faces at this NEC meeting.
Yes, Yvonne, thank you. And as you've rightly said, the ANC promised that it will be making a major announcement. And as you've said, the return of old faces, yes. For those of us who've been around for some time know who Kipruto Arap Kirwa is. That is the firebrand politician during the KANU days, and of course some of the chief architects that engineered the removal of KANU from power in 2002. Remember that he was a very integral member in the the then NAC summit. And today, true to what ANC had promised, they've unveiled him not only as a new member, but a deputy party leader. But I think I will not blow his trumpet. I think that is the same question I asked him, and he's here with me, so he'll be telling us more. Mheshimiwa Yvonne Okwara is asking the return of new old faces, and of course, I've just started there by saying that for those of us who know who Kipruto Arap Kirwa is, then maybe you don't need an introduction, but many are thinking, what has necessitated you are joining ANC and then ultimately made the deputy party leader?
Well, thank you so much, Duncan. The first thing is that I believe ANC is the home for many Kenyans, and I feel it's a room to grow as part of national integration. Given the diversity of Trans Nzoia, I think ANC fits very well with that kind of cosmopolitan constituency that we want to develop not only in Trans Nzoia, but the rest of the country. My absence from politics was informed by a number of democratic decisions, which I do appreciate, but I feel I still got capacity to offer my leadership to Kenyans and also to the people of Trans Nzoia. Yeah.
You've talked of having served as an assistant minister to Musalia Mudavadi, and then as the minister in charge of agriculture, and then as fate would have it again, you are deputizing him. What is the game plan that you are going to bring on board? And as I asked earlier, of course, on one hand, you are seeking the senatorial seat in Trans Nzoia. On the other hand, you are deputy party leader of ANC. And there are talks of super alliance in the name of NASA in the offing. What are you going to bring on board, of course, maybe banking on your experience as a seasoned politician?
Well, probably with the goodwill of Kenyans and with the divine providence, I shall be able to provide within my capacity any experience that I've gained both in terms of leadership here in Kenya and also as a quasi-diplomat working for IGAD to Somalia. And I strongly believe there is no contradiction between running as a Senator Trans Nzoia at the same time offering my experience at the national level. I strongly believe the two are not in any way contradictory, and I'm ready and willing and able to offer that kind of leadership.
Well, in 2002, you played a very integral role, of course, then in your capacity as the Cherangani Member of Parliament. But you were in the NAC summit that actually formed, merged ANC and NAC and then LDP to form NAC that swept KANU out of power. You are again joining when there are talks of a super alliance. Do we expect a repeat of 2002? And then if yes, if not, what will be different this time, given that you've played a critical role in such formation before?
Well, I'm grateful that many leaders in the opposition are colleagues that we worked either in government or in different fora. And I'm sure I will use my network and the network and experience of other leaders to ensure that we have one entity that gives alternative voice to Kenyans that is away from the current system. And I'm confident that that is the way to go. We are not here for positions only. We are here definitely to ensure that Kenyans have a fair deal at the end of the day.
Finally, you've said that you took a political sabbatical, and maybe you are better placed to paint for us a picture. Jubilee says that they are confident they will trounce the opposition in the morning. Of course, they've said that their target is no longer 50+1, but 70+1. From where you stand, will it be too close to call, or is it a done and dusted in terms of maybe the opposition toppling the ruling party out of power?
Those who are students of leadership will also remember that the window of change started in West Africa. And the same window of change where the incumbent loses power has already started in West Africa, starting with Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, and many other countries that the incumbents have started losing. I strongly believe that window of change is going to sweep to the rest of the continent and coming all the way to East Africa. I'm confident that Jubilee must brace itself for a serious battle, because we are not in this just to challenge them. We are in this to appropriate power and give Kenyans a clear dispensation that is different from what they are doing.
A sneak preview, a very big meeting tomorrow at Bomas. Of course, we understand that Jubilee has equally called its own meeting tomorrow. What do we expect?
Well, let me note also the way the party leader said, let's not preempt the discussions tomorrow. But we are going to have unity of purpose as the entire opposition of this country to provide alternative voices. Remember that out of 56 presentations that were made to the Senate committee, 48 of them agreed that the laws that were being passed are draconian and they were not necessary because it was a product of consultative process. This is not the first time we are having consultative process. Remember, in 1997, we had what we call IPPG. In 2008, we had what we call the Grand Coalition Agreement. And such agreements should not be subjected to narrow partisan interest. It should be a collective will of the people of Kenya through their leaders and through broad-based leadership of other institutions, including civil society and other organizations that represent certain unique constituencies. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll be engaging you from time to time now that you are deputy party leader, and then we'll see what the future holds in terms of politics.
Thank you.
Well, Yvonne, there you've heard it from the now deputy party leader of ANC, Kipruto Arap Kiro, of course, remaining cagey on what we expect tomorrow, but one thing that he has said for sure, as the opposition, the National Super Alliance, or NASA as they've called it, is not in this just to challenge Jubilee, but to ensure that they take power. That is what Kenyans will be waiting in next 6 months' time. From the Amani House, this is Duncan Haimba. Over to you, Yvonne Okwara Matole.
Well, a police driver attached to Huluho Police Station, Garissa County, was killed last night when the vehicle he was driving collided head-on with a truck ferrying cows along Madogo Garissa Road. Garissa OCPD Aaron Moriasi told the press that the 4 occupants in the truck were slightly injured in the midnight accident. Also injured was a mother and her 3-year-old daughter who had hiked a lift to Nairobi. The owner of the truck says he lost 8 cows, all valued at over 300,000 shillings.
Wakati tumefika toba Garissa Bridge, chizi ilikuwa mbele, hii gari ilikuwa nyuma. Antumpiga simu msema mtoka kwa bridge. Saa hiyo tu ambata accident. Gari ikaanguka, ile mtu juu tu baki yake anampiga simu msema watu wote wameumia. Mimi na kijana mwingine tumekimbia. Tumekuta watu wametulia hapa na gari ya polisi kwa ndani, na gari imegongana mbaya sana, na hiyo vitu amelala hii polisi bale. Alafu watu wetu kama sasa watu wameumia kwa hii gari, dereva, mama na mtoto yake, na ile iko juu ameumia, na ile gombe mkufa hapo sijui kama 8 sio gombe 8 na 3 mbatia kwa hiyo kishaka sahi.
35 students of Kirinyaga University have been suspended for 4 years for allegedly boycotting classes and trips. The students say the suspension was harsh as some of them had only a few weeks to do their final exam. The students are now appealing for intervention from the Ministry of Education. Efforts to get comment from the university failed to bear fruit, as Carol Derry reports. All right, we apologize. We do not have that clip for you. Let's also take a look at day 2 of Chief Justice David Maraga's tour of court stations in the Rift Valley. He's expected in Molo and Nakuru. Nakuru, you'll remember, was his former workstation. He will inspect the building, new courts, and launch the Children's Court while there. All right, we apologize yet again for the error in the sound in that clip. Let's go back to that story a little earlier of those students from Kirinyaga University who've been suspended for 4 years for allegedly boycotting classes. They're appealing to the Ministry of Education for intervention, saying that suspension was harsh as some of them have only a few weeks to do their final exam.
The suspended students converged in Kerugoya town in Kirinyaga County to discuss their plight. They say a 4-year suspension for boycotting classes and school trips was unjust and illogical. The 35 students pursuing different courses said they are now stranded and hopeless after receiving the letters signed by Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of Administration and Student Affairs, Professor Charles Omwadho. The letter states in part that, in the light of the evidence presented to the disciplinary committee on December 15th, you were found guilty of contravening the Kirinyaga University statutes by leading a boycott of scheduled classes and field trips.
We are calling upon Matiang'i, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the one we believe CS of education in Kenya, to listen to us, comrades. Yes. That if we have done something which is, which is greatest, let the university do something which is equal to what we've done. That's boycott of class. What is equal to that? Or what are the statutes say if somebody boycott class? I think it is 67% that you have to attend, at least 67% of the class attendance so that you sit for your exam. But missing a class for one day and just saying I influence. I am the president, and when students tell me over the pressure that we are not going to class and this is done, I have to adhere, and that is what we are there. So they are killing the comrade voice by intimidating the students who are maybe vocal, who are friends to chairman, that they have to go home because they are not solving the problem. They are just intimidating comrades for no apparent reason. Let them address the grievances. But for now, we are not ready to work on that. We want Matiang'i to come to a rescue, come listen to the university, listen to the comrades. Let us meet together, talk together. If Matiang'i is ready to solve, let Matiang'i solve for the university. As we want to come back to university, finish our academic, go.
The students further said they are unhappy over a move by the university to hike their fees without consulting them, leading to the indefinite closure of the institution last November. One of their grievances is that the university was asking them to pay 5,000 shillings for a trip to the neighboring Nyeri County, which they termed as unreasonable. Some of those suspended for 4 years are students who only had 2 weeks to go before doing their final exams.
I have been suspended for 4 years. I had remained only 2 weeks to do my main exam, but I have been suspended for 4 years. So that means I'll come back after 4 years to finish the 2 weeks so that I can be given my certificate. That is not fair.
I'm here to say that the reason why students boycotted to go to class was the main reason was academic trip, which is a issue from the previous years. Even the students who graduated last year complain about this issue.
Another thing, communication, social media, we can't say anything, and our student council doesn't have an office. I can't go at 12 to the men's hostel to give my grievances, so I have to send it via WhatsApp. If I send it via WhatsApp, someone screenshots it and sends to the admin. That means I'm doing a wrong thing. We need justice. We need freedom of expression.
We want the Minister of Education, Mr. Fred Matiang'i, to come in person to the university and see the evils and highlight the problems the students are facing. We are really suffering as students in this university.
Attempts to get a comment from the university's administration were fruitless as 9 security guards ejected our crew from the institution, including our cameraman who was manhandled. The students have now been left stranded in their private hostels and have been denied entry to the university's premises. Carol Nderi, KTN News, Kirinyaga University.
Prominent Mombasa-based businessman Tahir Sheikh Said, commonly known as TSS, is dead. According to family sources, TSS died while undergoing treatment in South Africa. The body of the late businessman is expected back in the country later today, ahead of a scheduled burial in Mombasa tomorrow. All right, let's stay within Mombasa for a moment and continue to focus on that push and pull between Governor Hassan Ali Joho, and the national government and the issue of his security as well as that of traffic marshals. And he joins me now live from Mombasa. Francis, good afternoon. So could you give us the latest? Have the traffic marshals, are they still out on the streets? We understand there was supposed to be a meeting with the policeman. Also let us know if there's been anything said by the senator of the county.
Well, Yvonne, the standoff that is, of course, touching on traffic marshals has taken a fresh twist here in Mombasa today. And a day after the traffic marshals actually made a stern commitment that they will not be heeding to that call made by the Kenya police to actually leave the streets, leave the roads and go back to their offices. They have decided now to recall their officers. The inspectorate today morning recalled their officers, and they have been involved in what they are calling a crisis meeting, of course, with engaging the Kenya police to try and resolve this particular matter. And of course, it's a standoff that has now affected business in town. Most busy roads actually have been characterized with traffic snarl-ups. I think perhaps that was witnessed many months ago here in Mombasa, and therefore it has made a return because of this latest standoff. I've been speaking to Tofik Balala, who is the transport county executive in charge of transport, and he has said that they are still working out on a formula that will allow them work amicably with the Kenya police, and they believe that this, before the day ends, they should have been able to come up with a solution to be able to actually address the issues that have been arising. But until now, a lot of talks have been dragged into this particular issue, and of course, most of them political. And many are saying that at the end of the day, actually, it is wananchi who are feeling the pinch when these whole scenarios play out, Yvonne.